G'day guys and gal. A little while ago I made a video going over which unit type from each faction was the best, and there was a bit of a debate. Because suppose you can always just say a massive ship or a titan for each of the factions, and I kind of mixed and matched it a bit. So to tighten it up like a toiga or a nun's pussy, I just thought let's just check out which character is the most powerful from each faction. The only limit to this being they cannot be a concept or a god, and they have to be active in the setting. So no chaos gods and no uncharted Catan, or references to some Lovecraftian nightmare on the edge of the galaxy. Basically you have to be able to kiss it. You don't have to survive the kiss, but it needs to be kissable. Yes, I could have picked another metric just as valid. No, I will not. This is going to be juicy. But not as juicy as this Friday, as the Major Mini Voldemort collaboration miniature release continues. For those that don't know, I collaborated with Voldemort's Guide to Warhammer, a beloved Warhammer YouTuber, to bring some of his favorite homebrew characters to life. We have Cronin de Cunnin, a massive orc, and his pet Tiddles, the Avatar of Teeth. Then we have Hexamon the Oathkeeper, which I think is a bit of a lie of a name, followed by Arax Antarax the Cudgel, which should be a self-explanatory name, as well as Ulrich the Unreasonable. Damn, he's cool. The final two models are Thaddeus of Ultramar as well as Tarquinius Insolubus, an awesome duo of Inquisitors. I love the fact that even if you don't know these homebrew boys, they still make for awesome unique characters that could proxy into so many armies and make yours unique. Voldemort is getting 50% of the profit from this launch as well, so you're supporting myself, Voldemort, and getting yourself something nice. Wins all round. On top of that, we're still running the monthly war chest box. Basically, you pay $100 and get over double that in value of mystery miniatures sent to you each month. So if you want it to feel like Christmas every month for up to 50% off, then that's the best bet. And finally, we're rolling out our official Major Minis affiliate program so you can get free minis and make money through referrals. Our trial of that saw affiliates make thousands off not too much effort. So if you like painting, have a social media presence, and want to make some money, then link for everything is below. Today we'll go over the most powerful character from each faction. Yep, that's it, it's that easy. Let's get into it. Starting off with the Imperium, the big question, the big E. Is he the most powerful, and is he considered eligible? Can you kiss him? Well, you'd probably get barbecued to death from his psychic might before you reached the top of the Golden Throne, but theoretically, if you were a blank, you could get up those stairs and lick his crusty balls. But that then begs the second question, is a dude who is a literal skeletal vegetable that cannot throw hands powerful? Like, yes, he's powering the Astronomicon and keeping the Webway Gate under terror shut, but if he's basically just a big battery, is that actually power? You could say it's kind of like asking who wins in a fight, a nuclear reactor or Mike Tyson. However, because he's still a tangible being, not a concept or god by the fullest extent, I will have to give it to the Big E. Likewise, we know he isn't actually as defenseless as he seems. There was a vision shown of what would happen to Terra if Guilliman didn't arrive when he did, when Khorne dumped a huge army on the Lion's Gate. A whole bunch of greater demons of Khorne bum-rush the throne, and the Emperor projects psychic shields and bolts that slay many demons. While yes, they would slay him in the vision, you gotta remember that the Emperor was also knocked the fuck out during this time from the opening of the Great Rift. So a knocked out skeleton Emperor was still throwing hands. When he managed to pull his consciousness together, he managed to revive Guilliman from death, call Mortarion a bitch, and then set Nurgle and his garden on fire. And considering we're saying that Nurgle doesn't count here due to his abstract god status, the Emperor still beating his ass is wild. Likewise, the Emperor does occasionally directly intervene in the events of the galaxy and has spawned things that are almost as powerful as a Primarch, such as Saint Celestine and the Sanguinor, seemingly by accident, them just kind of leeching off his power due to their faith and warp spaghetti. So we can confidently say without a doubt that the Emperor is the most powerful character in the Imperium. To keep this interesting, we'll separate Mars from the Imperium, but who is the most powerful character in the Mechanicus? Is it a named Titan? Well, no, Titans are machines crewed by many people, and those people are actually physically weak as shit. We also have to remember that power isn't just one's ability to punch. Power can be their warp ability, their genius, their technology, their physical prowess. It's more so if these guys were thrown into a 1x1 square kilometer arena with 1 hour of prep time from their resources, who would win? Now, politically, you could argue that the Fabricated General is the most powerful. However, that's a bad argument. Pretty sure the last one died off page and was the size of a house for some reason, but had the mobility of Stephen Hawking without his wheelchair. No, the most powerful by far is Belisarius Cawl. This dude has 10,000 years of knowledge as well as numerous brains sharing his body, all of which are geniuses. He can reverse engineer Necron technology very easily and has outplayed and outwitted even Catan shards. He ain't no bitch in combat either. He's extremely armored and armed, able to cut through hordes of space marines easily. He's constantly shielded, and there was a scene where he literally grabbed a Chaos Marine and opened it up like a tuna can with his mechadendrites. As for other feats, he helped revive Guilliman, created the Primaris by genuinely upgrading the Emperor's designs, and without him, the Imperium would be dead, so there you go. Cawl is a G. How about the Craftworld Eldar? This is an interesting one, as the Eldar don't even have their Emperor or Guilliman equivalent. All Phoenix Lords are supposed to be on the same sort of level. Yes, some have better feats, and some are yet to have their first death, but they are all specialists in some way and could all come out on top if the context was right. Yvraine just flat out isn't the most powerful. She's strong, but gets killed a fair bit, and only still walks because she has the God of Death wanking her off. How about Eldrad? Eldrad is a mighty psyker, but his power more so comes from his strategies. He finds the path of least resistance and then applies a lot of pressure, so he seems a lot more more powerful than he is. He did beat Abaddon in a melee fight once, which is fucking hilarious, and no one in the Eldar Empire can use the warp like he can, so that does make him a contender. Now we know that the Phoenix Lords are more powerful than the avatars of Cain, as stated by Margenrad tempering his blade by slaying an avatar. However, did you know that there is actually a unique avatar of Cain that is greater than the rest by far? That avatar was called the War Shard. However, it is now known as the avatar of Eldernesh. This avatar was bigger and meaner than the rest, wielding a smaller version of Cain's actual sword, the Widowmaker. It was more or less the shard of Cain that possessed his heart, and boy was he fucking shitting on the Ynnari. It took an obscene amount of effort and a lot of dead space elves to bring it down. Like even the Yinkani had to get involved. Upon taking it out, the Ynnari were able to recover a gem called the Heart of Eldernesh, gave it to an Autarch, and now that Autarch can turn into the War Shard at will, however now possessed of a noble heart and spirit. This avatar was taking on an elite Eldar army before they took it down, and I genuinely think it would have beaten a Primarch. Thus I am declaring it the most powerful character in the Craftworld Eldar lineup. As for the Dark Eldar, although Vect may seem like an obvious choice, and he is indeed quite powerful, his power is through schemes and plots and shit. It's very rare that Vect needs to get his hands dirty. The true power of the Dark Eldar would either be Lilith or Drazar. Lilith is a beast who doesn't wear armor because she's extremely hard to hit, whereas Drazar is the Dark Eldar equivalent of a Phoenix Lord and founded an entire cult of warriors that now make up the elite of the Dark Eldar. I'll have to give this one to Drazar. Lilith is the peak of a Dark Eldar. Drazar is beyond it. He fought Janzar multiple times, killing her over and over and only eventually losing because she kept getting revived by Yened. Upon his death, his armor was taken and placed on an incubi, rebirthing him in the same way a Phoenix Lord is. The guy's just insanely powerful, and if you had to choose a champion from the Dark Eldar, he would be your guy. Now onto the Necrons. Now you could just say the Silent King and call it a day. The dude is a beast after all, but it's not so clean cut. The Silent King is struggling against Imhotep the Stormlord at the moment, who himself has been clapped by Helbrecht before, a space marine. The Silent King is also kind of a big ass Necron standing on a plinth powered by Catan. We also don't really see him fight, so despite being an ambitious and legendary ruler who undoubtedly can throw some hands, I don't know if calling him the top dog of raw power is entirely accurate. Instead, I would actually nominate Orican the Diviner. This dude can not only tell the future with serious detail, but he can actually unwind time with seemingly no limit, significantly more than other chronomancers. There was a scene where he was buried in tons and tons of dirt and rubble, and begun digging himself out. Each time he dug himself into a trap or crushed himself by exposing more rubble, he would rewind time and try again. It took him millions of rewinds and thousands of years, but the dude finally dug himself out. That feat alone is just insane. He can also command legions of Necrons simultaneously, something that would blow out the circuits of most Necrons. However, his greatest power is that under very special circumstances, he can temporarily ascend to a godlike state of raw energy, of pure energy and power, strong enough to be able to easily rip a transcendent shard apart with little effort. In this form, he is more or less unstoppable, and I genuinely cannot think of many things in the galaxy that could withstand him. The only saving grace is how hard it is for him to reach this state and how temporary it is, alongside the fact that it traumatizes him, as for a moment he gets the perception of a god, and it's cold, ruthless, and horrifying. But yeah, Orican is the GOAT. Now for the Orks. There really is only one option, and that is Ghazghkull. No Ork can hold a candle to this dude. Until Gaz appeared, Orks were literally just seen as a nuisance and a pain in the ass. When the Orks first arrived in Armageddon, they actually wanted to hold off from calling reinforcements because Orks were considered an easy foe to handle, until Gaz just clapped their asses and was only stopped because of Yarrick. Ghazghkull now leads the largest Ork army seen in over 10,000 years, and since Orks only follow strength and power, this makes Gaz the most powerful by default. There is absolutely no debate here. The dude is the size of a fucking dreadnought. Checking out the Tau. This is an interesting one, as the Tau aren't really into psychers or genetic modifications or uniqueness. In saying that, it's really between Shadowsun and Farsight. While their tactical ability may be up for debate, their prowess does tip towards Farsight. He uses a battle suit, has a magical sword, and literally throws hands with demons and wins. His immortality given by his sword means he's got a lot more experience in battle than Shadowsun does, and he literally managed to found an entire empire through sheer martial prowess. So Farsight takes this one. For the Tyranids, although the obvious one would be the Swarm Lord, as he is often thrown in as their big boy threat, that guy's been killed more times than I've jerked off, and I've jerked off a lot. No, the true most powerful Tyranid, who likely has been reabsorbed by the hive mind by now, but still counts, is the Doom of Malantai. This was an experimental Tyranid zoanthrope that ate a Craftworld's Infinity Circuit, then ascended to become a Tyranid god, able to fight off the entire Craftworld's army and then destroy the Craftworld itself. The Swarm Lord gets clapped by Space Marines. This thing took on an entire Eldar army. Nothing in the Tyranid lineup comes close to this bad boy. And finally, Chaos, which is going to be a hard one, but I like it hard. To keep this video under 2 hours, we're just going to pick one singular character from the entire Chaos faction. Off the bat, we know that Demon Primarchs are generally more powerful than most other greater demons as a general rule of thumb. However, there are some seriously ridiculous non-Primarch demons, such as Aetios Ra Karez, a Lord of Change who is so powerful he's only ever summoned to exterminate us whatever planet he is on. He's a literal bomb. There is also Draknian, a demon destined to kill the Emperor who had to be turned into a sword to be contained. However, now he is a sword, so yeah. I would include Abaddon as a contender, but he's not, so I won't. Same goes for Vashdor. Dude is cool, but not even close to being a top contender. Aetios Ra Karez is cool, but you could literally just replace him with a Cyclonic Torpedo and it's the same result. Immense power isn't that useful if it cannot be controlled. So we do now have to look at the Demon Primarchs. We know Mortarion beat Perturabo, with Perty being pretty hands-off anyway. Mortal Perty beat Angron, but that's when Angron was a fresh demon and a bit of an idiot. Lorgar is just not qualifying, nor is Fulgrim. Magnus should be the most powerful, but he's generally just kind of not, often getting his ass beat by Grey Knights and Space Wolves. As it stands, I'll have to give it to Angron. The dude can summon 18 Bloodthirsters as bodyguards on a whim, he literally regenerated from being atomized, beasted his way through an entire Imperial army, including Grey Knights, and smacked the Coral Engine so hard it managed to corrupt an entire Indominus fleet to Khorne, including people who should just not be corruptible. If you manage to actually kill him, cool bro, you just bench him for a couple weeks and then he's back. Khorne is currently the most powerful Chaos God, and he funnels a lot of that into Angron. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up a Voldemort mini or grab the war chest. Lots of options, don't miss out. Hit the subscribe button, hit the real subscribe button for more powerful content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.